leaders, thanks so much for click and play on this video. Over the next several days and maybe even into the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be introducing and releasing a series of these videos about our new ministry model that I introduced to you several weeks ago when we had our vision meeting called The Path Forward. And I want to kind of take what we shared over the course of about an hour and 20 minutes, and I want to break them down and talk a little bit more about the talking points that we had in that meeting. And I want to break them down into more singular videos so that they're a little bit more digestible for you. And as we've talked about this new model and we've been presenting it to you, my understanding is that it probably introduces more questions that you might have about your path forward as a group leader and what these different groups look like. So my goal is through this series of videos is really to answer some of those questions, to give you clarity and confidence as a group leader moving forward. And hopefully you feel like, because we have answered as many questions as possible through these videos and through our conversations, that you can move forward in confidence with us as a communities department here at Crossroads. And so with this video in particular, I really want to take a little bit more time than we will with most of them. And I want to kind of remind us why we're introducing this new ministry model within communities. And the reason really comes down to a few points. And the first one is that we want to simplify and we want to focus this ministry on the basis of some gathering expectations. And I'm going to talk to you about what those expectations are in just a few moments in this video. But we want to focus and we want to simplify. We have, as a department, as groups, we have gotten really diverse. And you've heard me probably say that we've gotten even a little bit bloated, and we want to trim things down a little bit and really focus on doing a few things really well. Also, we want to be more intentional about building disciples around the study of God's Word and discussion time around God's Word and prayer over one another. So those are going to be some big focal points moving forward for all of our types of groups. Also, we just want to better measure our metrics for success. And so as a team, our communities team has sat down and talked about hey, what does successful discipleship development look like through a group? And what are the things that we want all of our groups to accomplish? Those will be our metrics moving forward in order to measure if we're doing groups well, if we're discipling people well, if we are stewarding this ministry well. And so we want to have some better measurements and better metrics for success. Also, the truth is we're in a different stage of life as a church. 7 years ago when this department was started, and we just started building into community, we didn't, as a church, really have a culture of gathering. And so we created this free market system that allowed all different kinds of groups, and they're all good, just to gather people, to create a culture where people wanted to get together in groups. And you know what? We've done that really well. You've done that really well. But we're in a different stage now where we have kind of created a culture. People understand the importance of being in community. They understand the importance of being in groups. And now we want to take it to the next level. We want to be even more intentional, not just about gathering, but about building disciples of Jesus Christ and teaching people God's word and praying together. And so that's the reason that we're really implementing this new model moving forward, starting in the fall semester of 2024. Now, I know what you might be thinking right now, what are the different group types that we're going to have? First of all, I want to let you know that we're going to have community groups, and then we're going to have catalyst groups, and we're going to have care groups as well. And throughout this series of videos, I'm going to answer some questions that are more specific to each of these types of groups. And so you can expect me to kind of break them down a little bit more and hopefully bring some clarity to you. But there's going to be 3 different types of groups. And you've heard me say now maybe a couple of times that we're going to have some gathering expectations for each group type. And these are kind of the metrics that our team has put together to say, if community groups are successful, these are the things that they're going to do, and we believe these are the things that build disciples. If catalyst groups are going to be successful, same thing. If care groups are going to be successful, these are the different expectations. And so really for community groups, this is what it means. First of all, for the leader, we're going to ask our leaders to give a 2-semester commitment. Fall and spring semesters, we need to build continuity with our community groups. It's really hard to build healthy community groups that are meeting either in classrooms or in homes without having an ongoing rhythm of gathering. And so we want our community group leaders to commit to leading at least 2 semesters. And that's not hard. That's not difficult for many of you who have already been leading community groups. Also, we're gonna put a focus on Bible study. We're going to put a focus on praying together on a regular basis. We're also going to put a focus on group discussion. Every community group needs to incorporate these 3 things as well. And we also want to have some food and fellowship. I think each of us understand the value that food brings. If you've ever sat down at a table and shared a meal with someone, you know that that brings down walls. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have a 4 or 5 course meal at every small group or community group gathering. I'm not saying that you even have to have a 1 course meal. I'm just saying, man, sometimes when people are coming together, a little bit of food could go a long way, even if it's a little fruit. Maybe it's just some desserts, or maybe it's some snacks or some finger foods, whatever it might be. Just like many of you, when you walk into church on Sunday morning, there's some comfort in having that cup of coffee in your hand. You know how that feels? It feels familiar in a place that may not always feel real familiar. That food does the very same thing in a community group. And so we want to have that be a part of the rhythm of community groups. And also, we want to make sure that groups are multiplying and receiving people on a regular basis. And this is something that we have tried to encourage over the last few years, and now we're going to really drive this and hopefully see this become a regular, rhythm of community groups where they are sending people out at least once a year, whether it's an individual or a couple, to start a Catalyst group. And we're going to talk about that more in the videos that are to come as well. And then we want community groups to be open to receive more people into that group, so groups don't get too stagnant and they become missional and they become sending oriented. So those are kind of the expectations for a community group. Catalyst groups are somewhat similar. The expectation is probably a little bit lower. There's no semester to semester commitment from a Catalyst leader, but we do want Bible study. We want group discussion. We want prayer to be a focus. We want food to be a focus as well. But we're not necessarily asking Catalyst groups to send people from those groups to start new groups or receive. So we'll talk about that in the videos to come as well. And then care groups are going to be a little bit different from our community groups and our Catalyst groups. Care groups are going to have a slightly different set of expectations. We want some easy on-ramps for people that are close to these pain points in life. And some of those pain points might be divorce, the loss of a loved one. Maybe they're grieving a suicide or struggling with suicidal thoughts themselves. Maybe they're struggling in their marriage. Maybe they're struggling in their finances. Maybe they're struggling with sexual purity, pornography. All of these things, we want to create care groups where people that are struggling in those different areas can receive care almost immediately, so that if and when they go forward, maybe at the end of a sermon on a Sunday morning, we can direct those people to our care group leaders and they can start providing that care immediately, even if we're not in the middle of a semester. And so when we are in semester, we want our care groups to be studying a certain curriculum that is appropriate for that type of group. We want them to be studying God's word and praying together and having group discussion, just like our other types of groups. But we want to have ongoing care provided for people, because you know well that pain never stops and it doesn't wait for the launch of a new semester. And so we want our care group leaders to be able to receive people and to love them well, even if they're not leading through a curriculum at that point in time. And so those are some of the things that we're going to be expecting as groups gather regularly. And so I want you to understand that I'm going to explain all of this a little bit further in the videos to come, but I encourage you, I apologize, this video is a little bit longer than the future ones will be. Most of them will probably be somewhere around 5 minutes, but there was kind of a lot to lay out in this video, and I'm so glad you stuck with me through it. I hope and pray that you will keep clicking play on the videos that are to come, because my trust is that as you watch these videos, you're going to get more clarity, you're going to get more confidence, and hopefully we're going to have more unity moving forward, and you feel like, man, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to lead one of these types of groups next semester. Folks, at this season in our church's life, we need communities more than ever, which means we need you. And so we want you to feel confident moving forward with groups and leading groups. And so thanks again for click and play. Check back again soon for the next video.